welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
Yes, Cynthia is going to be one of 32 authors at the Holiday Book Festival on November 30th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Kensington Mill Falls event in Milford, Michigan, which is streaming on the bottom. Um, Cynthia writes biographies and memoirs and children's books. So, Cynthia, tell us about your books.
Well, I guess the first book that I wrote is actually my husband's memoir.
Oh,
Yes, we've been married many years, and through the years, he's told me so many stories. He grew up in an orphanage in eastern Pennsylvania, and
oh,
the name of the orphanage was actually the Home for Friendless Children. Isn't that a sad name for an orphanage?
that is so sad. I
It's
mean,
sad.
there's truth. I guess do you give them points for truth and advertising?
Yes,
But
it's
I mean,
crazy.
yeah, that's really sad.
So it was built, it was an old, big old mansion. It still sits today, but today it is a social services offices and drug rehab center. But I
Oh,
went to visit it when I was writing the book, and it was in 1888. It was named the Home for Friendless Children. And in my research, I found out that many orphanages along the East Coast were called the Home for Friendless Children. They had like
oh,
maybe 10 orphanages called Home for Friendless Children. So it was a thing in the late 1800s. But
huh.
they didn't change the name until 1964. And in
Wow.
1964, they changed it to the Children's Home of Reading, Pennsylvania. But isn't that crazy? But his stories were just so amazing. And I thought I have got to write all these stories down. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to write my husband's memoir for mostly for our grandchildren so that they
Mm-hmm.
know what Papa went through
Yep.
and to never, ever, ever give up.
Yeah.
Just never give up. It doesn't, your past doesn't define you. So I wrote it for our grandchildren. Then some of my friends read a few chapters and said, "Oh, you've got to publish this. You've got to publish this." So when COVID hit, I polished it up. I finished
Mm-hmm.
it and put it out there um, in the world. And to my absolute astonishment, it has won 15 awards.
Oh, nice. That is fabulous. That really is.
Yeah, I just got
What a
back.
great accomplishment.
Thank you, thank you. We just got back from New York City. It was the New York City Big Book Award,
Mhm.
distinguished favorites, and I'm telling you, there is nothing. I still feel like I'm in this dream because it was just
Right?
a simple memoir I wrote of my husband. So I couldn't be. I'm absolutely thrilled. So
That is awesome.
that's that one. And then the other thing that I'm equally thrilled about, this almost means more to me, is that a priest from another city read it. I don't know how he got a hold of it. A nun friend gave it to him. He said he called me or emailed me, and he said, "I run a prison reading book club, and your book has so much hope." And both of my husband's brothers spent years in prison, and
Mm.
one got a 25-year sentence
Ooh,
and got out of prison, got a job as a truck driver, and never got into trouble again. He even
awesome.
he even volunteers for the fire department in his city.
That's very awesome.
So the priest told me, reading the book, he said, the saddest thing about prison is hopelessness. That's
Yeah.
the heartbreaking. He said the
Mhm.
hopelessness is heartbreaking. How do you give someone hope when they have a life sentence? But
Mm.
he said, your book is so full of hope. And he said, I said, yes, absolutely. You can use it. And you have my permission, I'd be honored. So a
Yeah.
few weeks later, he sent me an email and said, I have to tell you a story of one prisoner who had a very long sentence. And
Mhm.
in a late, older age, is now being released from prison. He doesn't want to
Mm.
go. He was afraid to go out into the world. And
Well, yeah. What do you
yeah,
do?
because exactly. And he said, reading the book, he started to cry after he read it. And he said,
Aw.
this gives me hope that I will be accepted, that I actually can go out into the world. If this guy that my brother-in-law, Rob's brother, committed a horrible crime, horrendous.
Mhm.
But then he got out and was accepted into society. So it gave this man hope. That meant more to me than every
Yeah.
award I would ever win. So that was extra super special.
That is absolutely awesome to have that kind of impact.
I couldn't believe it. It was just meant so much to me. So now it's been in about 7 Ohio prisons, book clubs.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm very, very honored.
Wow.
And then I wrote 2 children's books.
Mhm.
And the first book is really my mother's story. My mother's
Oh.
deceased now, but she was a magical storyteller. And she told a
Mm.
story called Old Crabby Turtle. She made it up when we were little, and it was our favorite story. And then when I had 3 children, I always told it to them, and it was their favorite story. And now my
Mhm.
grandchildren beg for the story. So I thought, you know what? I have got to write Gigi's story. I've just got
Mhm.
to write it. So
Yep.
I wrote that, and 2 years ago, and it won a Mom's Choice Gold Award for excellence in children's literature. So
Oh, nice.
I'm beyond thrilled about that. And then my I have a special needs grandson,
Mhm.
and he called me. Was 12 at the time. Now he's 13. He called me and he said, they call me Nama, and he said, Nama, I have another idea for an old crabby turtle story. So he told me this long, drawn out story. And I said, it was way too long for a children's picture book, but I said,
Right.
Michael, if you're willing to work really hard, we'll condense it down, work and condense it. We keep the
Mhm.
elements of the story and
Right.
then turn it into a children's book. And so it's hard because when you have special needs, they don't, it's hard
Yeah.
they're all black and white, but we worked so hard and he did condense it down and we got it. And it just now is released on August 15th, and it's now for sale. And it's another Old Crabby Turtle adventure, but it's called Old Crabby Turtle's Big Rescue.
Oh, how cool.
So I'm
Nice,
super
nice,
thrilled about
nice.
that. Yes.
So that one is in our book cover contest that's coming up.
Yes, I just thought I'd put it in. I couldn't decide which one of my books to do, but I thought, oh, it's the latest, so I'll throw that in.
Awesome. And you're going to be reading at the Holiday Book Festival, and it's going to be part of the Home for Friendless Children.
Yes, I thought I would read just a chapter out of this guy, or just
Okay.
a page, not a whole chapter, a page or 2,
Mhm.
whatever it
Mhm.
is.
Awesome. Show us you have the Old Crabby Turtles Big Rescue cover.
I do. Here's Old Crabby Turtle's Big Rescue.
Awesome. Very cute.
Thank you. I like the octopus on top.
I was just gonna say there's someone hitching a ride there on
He's
the.
she is a girl.
Okay.
She's the heroine in this story.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
so.
So exciting.
And I do have to say I'm so excited because Belle Isle Aquarium,
Mhm.
Miss Bella, carries my books.
Nice.
Yes, and
Awesome. How appropriate.
they've been doing really, really well. They have a sea turtle, and I hope they'll carry the new one. It just came out, but because they also have an octopus there,
Ah,
fingers crossed that they'll carry the
that would
octopus.
be nice. Plus, it's kind of like a sequel
Yes,
to the first one.
right.
So,
Yeah.
you gotta carry the sequel.
Yeah, hope so. Fingers crossed.
That is so awesome.
Thanks.
Um, so you're one of our
Monroe.
Michigan in Monroe, Michigan.
Uh-huh.
Now, have you always lived in Michigan or?
No, I lived in Maumee, Ohio, kind
Okay.
of a suburb of Toledo, and grew up there, lived there. But we love to sail. And
Mhm.
so we looked many years for a little place on Lake Erie or one of the lakes, but everything was so expensive. But a few years ago, we found a rundown tiny cottage.
Ooh,
So
project.
yeah, project. My husband's very handy, so we worked on it like a year and a half before it was even livable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so now we live here and we just love it.
Awesome.
So I'm a true Michigander now. We love the state. We've adopted the state.
But he's actually from
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Yes.
Nice. So, you how did the 2 of you meet then? You in Ohio and him in
Yeah. Well,
Pennsylvania?
in the memoir, it kind of explains it that I was a single mom with 3 kids, and he was a single dad. As a matter of fact, he hadn't been married for 18 years. He was
Mm.
married 1 year when he was 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And then he was a bachelor for 19 years, I think. And a girlfriend called me one day and said, I have this. Oh, he was actually got a job with Owens, Illinois in Toledo, and that's how he was
Oh,
transferred
okay.
to Toledo. That's how he got there from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And she said, I have this friend, and I think that maybe you guys should meet for a drink. And, by that time I had been a single mom with 3 like preteens and teenagers, and just blind dates never, I think I scared off anybody, with 3. So I was discouraged. I said, well, thank you so much for thinking about me, but those things never work out for me. Thank you anyway. But
Right.
she kind of kept insisting. So I said, okay. And she said, what would it hurt on the way home from work just to stop and have a drink at Chili's? So I said, okay. So we stopped. It was right on my way home, and I stopped, and he came in, and he was such a nice person. And we went out, and he asked me to marry him on our 4th date.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So kind of whirlwind romance. And then I knew so little about him. I mean, I really didn't know,
Yeah.
him. I wouldn't recommend this to anybody else, but it worked out for us. It worked out. Only 4, a few dates, 4 dates, and I said yes. But then all this amazing life that he's had came out.
Mm.
Crazy, crazy stories. And so I thought, after the kids were gone and I had more time, I thought, I've got to write these stories down.
Mhm.
So that's how his memoir came about.
That is awesome.
Yeah, but we've been married, 32 years now, so long time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. So you mentioned that Old Krabby Turtle's Big Rescue was a collaboration.
Yes,
Uh, and Old Krabby Turtle was kind of your mom's story.
correct.
So, and then you've got the memoir, your husband's memoir. Are you planning on any more books? Any
I
more?
am. I'm writing a
Ooh,
short story collection. And
okay.
I think it's going to be nonfiction because I have 2 stories that are true stories,
Mhm.
but I have to think maybe of one more. But it may or may not be nonfiction, but I really think it's true stories. But the one was our daughter, the one story that I just pretty much finished is our daughter was one of these kids, a traveler. She graduated from, well, when it was safe, 20 years ago, it was safer to travel through the world as a young woman. But she
Yep.
graduated high school and she was such an adventurer. She said, I'm just going to go do some traveling. Well, she ended up, she knew how to scuba dive. So she ended up teaching scuba diving in Egypt, which wouldn't be safe right
Oh,
now, but
yeah. No.
Egypt in Dahab, a little Bedouin village on the Red Sea. And so one day we went to visit her. So we flew in to actually Israel and then took a bus you can see what a different time this was. It was safe
Yeah.
to go on a bus to Dahab near Sharm el-Sheikh. And we always wanted to see the pyramids. So my daughter said,
Mm.
come, we'll dive, we'll have fun, and then we'll take a bus to Cairo and see the pyramids. So my daughter wanted always to save a penny, always on a budget. She said, no, we'll forget the big air conditioned bus. Well, I know some guys, they have a van and they have a transport and they'll take us. So the adventure began when we got into this tiny minivan with all these Egyptian men, shoulder to shoulder with these Egyptian men, and this bumpy ride, all these hours to Cairo. I mean, there's something that happened in the van, but it's too long to go into. But the main story was you can take a camel to the top of Mount Sinai, or you can hike to the top of Mount Sinai.
Mhm.
Because, well, first, I'm sorry, went to see the pyramids, but we stopped because I also wanted to see Mount Sinai, which is in the desert. So
Mhm.
on the way to Cairo. So we decided to get a room at the monastery. St. Catherine's Monastery is a centuries old monastery. and they believe they have the um, real burning bush there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the original burning bush.
Mhm.
So they built this monastery, the monks, and so you can actually rent. This was way before internet. There was no internet back when we went. So we had to, there's a phone number you call, and I rented a room. Like for 15 American dollars, you could get a room and a meal. The monks rented out rooms. So we got ourselves a room and we went there, got dropped off by the van, and decided the next, oh, we decided that same day we were going to climb to the top of Mount Sinai. Well, it's a 4-hour climb, and we were all in pretty good shape. We were younger. And so we decided to climb. Well, my husband and daughter decided halfway up that they were going to grab a camel ride because they started getting tired and it was starting to get later in the day. But I
Mhm.
had been, at the time, I had been a big step aerobics person. And I think
Ah.
I was my ego. I think I wanted to, I can do this tough, step aerobics.
Mhm.
And I kind of wanted to prove something to them. So they took the camels up and I walked the rest of the
Mhm.
way. So they waited for me at the top. By the time I got to the top, I was exhausted. But anyway, so it was so moving and so amazing to be at the top. You just feel God's presence there. It's so crazy. But it was getting late, so we had to hurry back down before dark because it gets
Yeah.
really, really cold on the mountain, even though it's summertime or fall, I think. So we hurried down, and I was so tired, I took a camel down. But my daughter ran down. She's in good shape. And my husband decided he's going to run down too with our daughter. So they ran down. I took a camel down. So I was in pretty good. I felt pretty good because I had not had to travel down. But when we got to the room, it was so cold because in the desert, it gets real cold at night. And my husband, unbeknownst to us, he was freezing by the time he got home because they were soaked from perspiration.
Yep.
And my
Yep.
husband started shivering uncontrollably. So we
Oh.
said, let's get you into a hot shower. This was quite late because we had dinner first.
Mhm.
And we turn on the hot shower. There's barely lukewarm water. There was a couple other
Oh.
rooms. I guess they used up all the hot water, and maybe there was never hot water. And there was no heater in the room. There were just blankets. So my husband said, I can't get warm. I can't get warm. So we laid on either side of him and we tried to put all the blankets and clothes, but we knew that he was borderline hypothermia.
Mm.
And all of a sudden we realized this is dangerous.
Yeah.
This man cannot get warm. How are we doing time wise?
We're doing great.
Okay. This man cannot get warm. So we just really got frightened. And he said, I think I need some help. I just can't get warm. He's chattering teeth. So I said, I'm going to have to go get the monks. This is before cell phones or anything. So
Yep.
I went out of the room. I went over to the main monastery. By this time, it's about midnight.
Mm.
And I start pounding on the doors, pounding on the doors. And nobody heard me. It's a huge monastery. The monks were probably asleep deep inside, no bell,
Oh, wow.
nothing. And we had toured the building. We had toured the monastery earlier in the day. And this monastery, down in the vaults, down below,
Mhm.
this monastery has been here for centuries. When a monk dies,
Mhm.
I don't know if they bury him or what, but they wait and then they dig up their skulls and they keep their skulls in the basement. And it was a cages of thousands of monks' skulls looking at you. So it's pitch black. I'm running around this building and all I can think about is those thousands of skulls in the basement.
Oh, wow.
And I ran around to the back and I'm trying every door. They never ever heard us. But I went back and we just did the best we could. And my husband did survive the night.
Well, that's good.
But it's kind of that whole
Yeah.
adventure.
Yes.
So that's my first short story.
Well, this will be interesting. Do you have any timetable on when your next book will come out?
Well, I hope to have it done by the end of the year.
Okay.
I've already kind of half started on the other one, so I'm hoping
Okay.
it'll be done, but you never know with writing. It's a
That's
journey.
true.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person
Thank
at
you.
the Holiday Book Festival and hearing you read part of your Home for Friendless Children, which is such a sad
I
title.
know it's such a sad title. Well, I'm so happy. I think I got one of the last 2 spots open.
Mhm.
So I am just so thrilled. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.